Welcome back, gearheads, automotive enthusiasts, and engineering nerds. Let's get right into this explainer. Today we're looking at a totally fascinating collision of hardcore physics, custom fabrication, and, well, everyday driving realities. We're going to explore exactly how ultra-low custom vans, those incredibly aggressive, ground-hugging monsters you see at shows or cruising down the boulevard, actually manage to survive the very thing designed to stop them in their tracks: everyday obstacles. We're going to decode the engineering secrets that keep these incredible machines on the road, completely intact, and looking absolutely spectacular.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this exact question is the ultimate mechanical showdown. You see a custom van sitting mere fractions of an inch off the asphalt, and the immediate, totally logical question that pops into your head is, how on earth does that vehicle cross a standard speed bump without literally leaving its oil pan, its exhaust system, and half its drivetrain scraped across the pavement? Right? It completely defies common sense. It's this massive, curiosity-driven puzzle that pits custom automotive styling directly against the totally unforgiving geometry of modern civil engineering.
Section 1. The Speed Bump Paradox.
So for a slammed custom van, maintaining that aggressive, ground-hugging stance without shattering the frame rails the second the road surface changes is a huge mechanical paradox. Our source material literally calls a standard speed bump a potential death sentence for the chassis. And they're right. If you hit one of these without the proper engineering, all that kinetic energy completely bypasses the suspension and transfers straight into the rigid frame. You're looking at potentially bending or cracking the actual foundational structure of the van itself.
Now, what's really interesting here is the massive misconception out there that building a custom van this low is purely about looks. People assume that by going ultra low, you're inherently sacrificing the structural integrity of the vehicle. But let me tell you, if you think going ultra low means sacrificing integrity, you are frankly doing the math wrong. The top-tier builders out there aren't just hacking off suspension components to drop the body. They're actually fortifying the vehicle. They're proving that extreme aesthetics require an equally extreme commitment to structural engineering.
Section 2. Re-engineering van geometry.
To actually make this work, builders have to completely re-engineer the van's geometry from the ground up. You can't just modify what the factory gave you. You really have to fundamentally change the mathematical relationship between the wheels and the frame. And that brings us to subframe geometry. The secret here isn't just slapping on some basic airbags and hoping for the best. No, it requires a complete structural overhaul of the vehicle's framework to survive the streets. We're talking about relocating suspension mounting points, raising the engine and transmission mounts, and sometimes fabricating an entirely new lower chassis just so the van can lay out completely flat on the ground without anything vital taking an impact.
So the crucial point is exactly how all these components work together. First off, you've got high-pressure air suspension systems. And listen, these aren't your grandpa's air shocks. These are highly sophisticated, rapid-response pneumatic systems that can lift the entire mass of a customized van several inches in a fraction of a second just to clear an obstacle. But lift is really only half the equation here. You also have to calculate rebound rates. Think about it. When that van goes over the speed bump and comes down the other side, the suspension has to perfectly dampen that massive downward force so the frame doesn't just bottom out and smash right into the asphalt. When you combine that precise pneumatic control with heavy-duty structural reinforcement, you end up with a chassis that can handle incredibly extreme forces.
Section 3. Hidden Structural Secrets.
The air suspension is just what you can see and feel, but underneath, well, there's an invisible armor protecting the actual lifeblood of the vehicle. Because even with the absolute best geometry, gravity and momentum are brutal enemies. So engineers weave this intricate network of protection right beneath the sleek exterior. These hidden reinforcements act as a literal shield beneath the custom van to survive the unthinkable. We're talking heavy-gauge steel skid plates seamlessly integrated under the oil pan and transmission, reinforced crossmembers, meticulously welded gussets to prevent torsion, and entirely rerouted exhaust systems tucked way up in the custom-fabricated transmission tunnels. This hidden armor is exactly what allows these aggressive, ground-hugging monsters to take a hit, maybe scrape a little metal if absolutely necessary, and survive without any catastrophic mechanical failure.
Section 4. Dominating the daily commute.
Look, a show van that can only be trailered to an event is one thing, but the true engineering marvels are the ones that actually conquer the asphalt. The goal of this complete physics overhaul isn't just to look good hard parked at a show, right? It's about real-world functionality. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate takeaway from this explainer. With the right engineering secrets, you can absolutely scrape the pavement, achieving that jaw-dropping, seemingly impossible aesthetic, and still completely dominate the brutal daily commute.
It really proves that extreme aesthetics and hardcore structural integrity can flawlessly coexist, as long as engineers are willing to rewrite the rules of the machine.
Which leads us to a pretty fascinating final thought to wrap up today's explainer. When you look at the immense amount of innovation, the absolute mastery of geometry, pneumatics, and metallurgy required just to get a custom van safely over a piece of raised asphalt, it really makes you wonder. If physics and vehicle dynamics can be completely overhauled just to conquer a standard speed bump, what other daily limits in our lives, our machines, or our environments are just waiting to be entirely re-engineered? Let that spark your curiosity a bit. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.